Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable. Here at the RoundTable, we continue the conversations that we have had from Sunday morning and how you can have practical ways to help every person take their next steps towards Jesus together. Hi guys. Wait.
See, this is the stuff that has to be on an outtake sometime.
Okay, can we just do it for real? Yeah,
for real.
Okay, because it's getting annoying. Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable, episode 62 today. They're making fun of me.
I'm sorry. It was just today.
Today.
Like it's tomorrow, but either way.
But they don't know that it's today.
No, you're right.
Okay, you should
Keep going.
No, you should take over.
You didn't announce yourself.
I know, you should take over completely.
Jenny, just so everybody knows, Jenny's going to try to be in character the whole podcast because she has an English voice.
I do. Was that it?
Yeah,
See,
I know, I wasn't doing it very good.
You missed the opening, but stay in character. Yes. But again,
the whole time.
Taking over, RoundTable. Welcome, everybody. Glad that you're with us. Again, just a reminder, this is Jenny, our social media director. Mike, I'm lead pastor here at Life Church. And our special guest today, one being Isaac, who was in the beginning.
Right.
OG RoundTable.
Right.
What's OG mean?
We have been over this so many times.
Oh, God.
No. No, he is the original gangsta.
That's what the OG stands for?
That's what OG stands for, yeah.
I made the logo. Me and Nick made it together.
You did? I didn't know that.
We designed it together.
Wow.
See? Way back when.
And we get to announce Bree as the fiance.
Yes.
Bree.
Fiance.
Yeah. Can you show your ring to everybody?
I know.
Bree?
I wonder.
Can everyone see?
Oh, I'm sure they can see it from that far away.
No,
it's that
here's
big.
the problem.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. How are we not friends on Facebook? By the way?
I don't know.
Yeah, because Sarah's like, did you see all the pictures? I'm like, nope, Isaac sends me nothing. I had nothing. She's like, did you see the rock? On her finger, and I'm like, I already told him, don't expect what Isaac got for Bree. That thing's like a rock. That thing's huge.
It is so nice.
I didn't expect it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
very
I'm
nice.
saying. We need to go back to the days when wedding rings, engagement rings, and the whole deal was like $800.
Yeah, and we're just like a band.
Something that's not like that.
Well, does that mean her wedding ring is going to have to be bigger than that then?
No, the band makes it thick. The band honestly makes it look better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a big halo and the band's kind of skinny. And the wedding band makes it look more thick.
Instead of like a wedding ring being that, it would be like a band to...
Well, you wear both of them. Like,
Right.
at the
You
same
weld
time.
them together.
Right.
And that'll make it look bigger?
No,
No.
Because
like it will.
The band will be
yeah,
thicker.
the halo is bigger than the band on the bottom.
Judas. Yeah, that's
So it
like
makes it
setting
a
the
little
bar
thicker
a little
on
too
the bottom.
high.
The cows pay
It
off.
is.
Yeah.
The cows... Yeah,
See,
they did.
cows are worth something.
Yeah,
Cows
they're
are
worth something.
But anyway, so just a reminder to everybody that's watching or listening. So the RoundTable's evolved a little bit. So we always have our guests on. And again, the reason being Jenny, put that together so we could get different people's perspective and so that we could look at scripture, but not only scripture, we could look at life, like what's going on, what's happening. So it's kind of a get to know our guests so that people can go online and listen and get to know. And like if people are coming to church, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know who that was. And that's why you should watch once in a while.
Definitely.
Every once in a while you should watch
See
because then you're like,
faces.
oh, that's that person.
Yeah.
I know who it is. And then you can say hi to them, right?
Yeah.
Because you know them or see them somewhere. So
Yeah.
again, catch us up a little bit. Bree, Isaac, whichever one of you wants to start. Tell us a little bit about you, obviously your life. What's going on in your life right now? What are you looking forward to? What's happening and what's going on? And then we'll kind of evolve that into, what we're going to be talking about
You
today.
want me to start?
Bree, are you going to be quiet?
No.
I told her, I'm like, if you're quiet, I'm just going to turn every question to you.
No.
Oh, my
I was
gosh.
going to say, I wouldn't think Bree to be quiet.
No, I don't think she's quiet.
she won't. Isaac Hill, pastor's son.
Oh, yeah, we need to get some info on that.
Nobody calls me a pastor anyway.
That's right.
But they call
That's
us the pastor's kids.
They do?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Do they only call you that when you get in trouble? Because that's
That's
like
why
the
I'm like,
normal.
oh, he's a pastor's kid.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Give him an
Like,
excuse.
kids that are pastors' kids are the ones in trouble all the time. Huh? I don't mind.
To each their own.
Yes.
But yeah, I work on our cow farm right now. taking over as the manager, getting everything ran, trying to make some money out there and not burn it to the ground.
Clearly it's working.
Clearly it's working because of the ring.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's weighing her down over there.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, I did not go to college. I'm not a big school person, so I did a half year my senior year and then just started working full-time after that. So I did half days and a half a year and then just started working full-time.
Well, and again, I mean, you grew up doing it.
Right.
I've been feeding cows. We found a picture since 2007.
Wow.
So,
It's been a long time.
How old
years
are you? 6 years old?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I've done it my whole life, so it doesn't really seem like work just because it's like the normal.
Yeah, you probably did it as a chore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it because we always said, like with our kids, we wanted to make sure a couple things. One, that they knew how to do physical labor. Because if they choose never to do physical labor, nobody cares. But I don't think anybody wants to marry a man that's a bum.
No.
Right? They can't work. You know? And so you don't want to marry somebody that doesn't have any calluses on their hands, right?
Exactly.
Do you check that when you're holding hands with your boyfriend?
No, but maybe I should now.
Yeah, like
that's why you don't put lotion on, so you look more manly.
So he does? So he does.
Yeah.
Oh, because the lotion would soften it up.
You don't want to take
you
your
gotta have some
calluses away.
calluses on your
Okay,
hand,
all right, good to
right?
know.
So when you hold your next boyfriend's hand,
Just a checklist.
yeah, just be like,
It's on it.
he'll probably think something else when you're going like this.
Petting his hand.
What will he think?
No, I don't know.
Just that I'm being weird?
I don't know. I mean, would you think it's weird if somebody
No.
started to hold your hand and then started rubbing your
No.
palm?
No.
That you wouldn't think that's weird?
Wouldn't think that's weird, would you?
I mean,
No.
if you've never gone on a date with them before, that'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
Your first date.
Yeah,
Your first date.
date.
So they're holding hands, walking through the mall, and you're like,
They just
That's
start
not weird
petting
at
you
all.
a little bit.
No.
and that way when he asks you, you can, what are you doing? You can tell him.
That's
I
true.
want to marry a man that knows how to work.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway,
you pass.
and some responsibility, right? Because the thing about animals is, I mean, without you, they don't get fed.
I know.
It's like a lifestyle. It's not like any other job.
Yeah.
Because
You have to be
everything they need, they're dependent on you
Right.
for.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. There's no time frame. It's just whenever it needs done. It gets done.
Wait, what do you mean there's no time frame?
So you know what I mean? Like there's no holidays. Like Christmas doesn't matter.
Oh,
4th
okay.
of July
Like there's no
doesn't
time
matter.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, every
get
single
it.
day they need the same things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change much. I mean, they all have needs and just fulfill their needs.
Yeah,
But
and it is funny because people aren't used to that. I mean, when they come and work, they're used to this like, what time do I start? What time do I get off? And what am I vacation? When's the holiday pay? And how's
I'm like,
what are the
I don't
holidays?
know.
Heck, I forget when the holidays are. I mean, you can't keep track of it because you got to work every holiday anyway.
I ask her all the time. I'm like, what day is it?
Oh, I
And I'm
know,
like,
I
I
do
don't
too.
even know what day it is because I'm just
They
thinking
all,
about
they all run together.
Yes, I bet.
They all
when you,
run
when
together.
you
Yeah.
feed every single day, it doesn't feed like you're feeding any other day.
Right. And it's a good opportunity to get educated, listen to books.
Yeah.
Right.
I
You have
listen
so much
to-
time for
I
that.
listen to about 200 a year.
Oh, wow.
I
Did
finish-
you used to read them? Like actually read them?
I used to really like to read,
Yes,
but I
I
never
thought.
had time to sit down and read.
Right.
And so it took me a little bit to like adjust to listening to them. That's all I do now.
Yeah,
Books, podcasts.
Well,
all
it's
that.
funny because when they were kids, they used to have headlamps. And so when they would go to bed, they put their headlamps on to read.
Oh, yeah.
I've always really liked to read.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I don't hardly know any kids that read anymore.
No, not really. Besides their iPad.
Does Levi read?
He likes to.
Likes to.
I don't know if he does anymore. He likes to read. We both like to read as kids.
Most people just don't have time to sit down and like actually
Yes.
open a book
Yeah,
up.
read a book.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in school.
Yeah.
Did you know, like, their whole life, did you want to do this, like take over? Was that a thought ever?
I had a lot of different thoughts. Throughout high school is when I like really started to consider it and like take it more serious. 'Cause
Yeah.
in middle school, I mean, it's just something like I always did in the summers just to make extra money so I could provide for myself throughout the year. Because essentially we couldn't work all throughout sports because we did sports the whole time. So anytime we weren't in a sport, we either just worked on the farm and lifted or found something else. But I feel like most of us hill boys,
I mean, nobody's ever worked outside of the house.
No.
I mean,
So they've
No,
always
I've
worked
I've
there.
well, I mean, Jeremy got fired 3 different times. So.
I've never had another job.
Okay.
Actually, I
Yeah.
mean, other than like heaven sent, like I've helped out at a couple places and done those kind of things, but like full time labor, I've not done anything. But like I worked at a pig farm for a couple of years when I was growing up. But once I started getting older and I realized how much I hated school, and I was just like, I feel
Amen.
like
Yes.
I've done this. I've done this my whole life, and I always thought too, I'm like, Dad would be stuck out there forever if someone didn't take over.
Yeah, I know.
And that wasn't like my reason to take it over, but it's like
Because no one was.
Yeah, all the work that he's put in his whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want it to go to waste, and you know, you get that natural care for it when it's everything you've done. And I love animals. I love animals more than people. So it wasn't that.
Not more than Bree.
No.
Just other people.
Yeah, I mean, when I say that, I mean I couldn't work in like service with people
that's hard.
because I have a lot of patience for animals, but when people are being dumb, like it would be very easy for me to just be like, you're being stupid.
And they are all the time.
Yeah, and they would drive me nuts.
Yes, they would.
You know, so I'd rather just listen to my book and just shake my head at stupid animals instead.
I mean, you're doing so much. You're working and you're like working on like learning.
Yeah.
I love podcasts.
Well,
I think
the other
that's
idea,
awesome.
the idea was when we first started the businesses was like threefold. So one was when Sherry got cancer and they took my whole 401k because,
wow.
you know, if you have any money, Parkview Hospital said, hey, we won't put you on a payment plan because you have a 401k. So
Really?
either you cash in your 401k or we're going to foreclose on your house. So I had to cash in my 401k. So I always said, I'm never investing like that again where the government and people can make a decision. So we wanted to invest into property. So that was one. And then two, we wanted an opportunity to reach people. So if you know, again, Scott Little, who just died. So the first farm we ever opened, other than the one we have, we got it open and he had went through some rough times. And so they were looking for something to do. So we moved their whole family out there. They ran the farm for us.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, so that was, and then I wanted to give my kids a chance to make decisions, to at least have a chance, because I wanted to be in farming when I was a kid, but my dad sold everything and could never do it. So I said, well, if we start these and the kids want to take them over, they can take them over and they can kind of carry on the same tradition of hiring people, influencing people, be able to have the family type lifestyle. Because that's the other thing farming is. Like you can do it together.
Yeah.
You know, and you can do it as a family and you can walk out your back door and you can do it. So I think there's some value if my kids ever wanted it, you know, to be able to do it. So, but if they didn't, that was what we were going to do. I mean, if the kids didn't take it over, I wasn't going to do it for them to just sell it all.
I bet. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
But again, you know, we have the South Farm. Brady runs that. You know, Isaac runs this one. Steven is our accountant for the farm, so it gives him an opportunity to do stuff. And Abby and Corbin both had farms at one time. They just decided they didn't want to do it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Corbin had a farm on State Road 16. And then he decided to be UPS driver, so then we moved Abby in there, you know, and then I don't know what happened there. I'm not exactly sure how that all went about, but Abby decided they weren't going to do it, so we got rid of that farm and, you know. But,
wow. It always seems like farmer kids are so different. They're so, like, older than what the other people are. Yeah, because you're actually doing work.
Yeah, well, responsibility.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. And, you know, learning that responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were young, we were 6 years old, going out, breaking out ice out of water tanks.
Yeah.
Well, it was even before that, because when in 2004, when we moved over here, we used to have, to be able to make the house payment on where we live today, the first barn out there used to have 25 sows in it. And so we used to farrow pigs. And so the kids used to have to go out and scrape all the manure by hand. And they had to get up before school and wean pigs. So
wean them?
Yeah. Like
what do you mean?
So, you know, when a baby's born,
they're
suckling off their mom.
Oh, okay,
got
you.
And then they get to 18, 19 days old, and then you take them away from their mom and put them,
wow.
you know, and so they would have to get up at 6
Before
a.m.
school.
And wean pigs, you know, every week.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was clear back in 04, 05, and then we got into the cows. And
wow.
It's kind of funny because I always felt like Brady did more with pigs and I always did more with our cows.
Yeah. Well, that's
how
because
it
you were
turned out.
way young in 04. You know,
Right.
so you weren't going to be scraped. Brady always says, if he ever gets on the
Is he
podcast,
upset about it?
he's the one who says, I'm the only one
Yes,
who's
I
ever
bet.
worked.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who ever, I was out there with a wheelbarrow scraping manure and all them were sitting inside doing,
Yeah.
I mean, we have video of me teaching the kids how to castrate pigs. And I mean, they were little.
Yeah.
Like how old?
I mean, I had to only be 4 or 5. when I was out
Whoa.
there.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
like he used to have to
goodness.
he was little, so he used to have to get in the pens and
Yeah.
grab the pigs and throw them out. And then Brady and Lexi learned to give shots, castrate, cut tails.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they've done it a lot of their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Anyway, so Bree, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Bree or Brianna, but no one knows my name.
I was
so
about to
everyone
say,
knows
you
me
want to
by
know,
Bree.
the funny story
Yeah.
Because
about
you
her
didn't
name?
know. Because listen,
Because-
yes, you didn't know. I actually have that written down.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know if it was Brianna or Bree.
Brianna
Brianna or Brianna.
Yeah.
Or Brianna.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm not messing it up.
It was
I
like-
think I messed it up the first time.
It was
I'm
like episode 11 and you still didn't know.
no,
her
I'm like,
name.
just call her Bree.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm not going to mess it
No.
up. I'm not going to be the
Pretty much,
weird
pretty
guy.
much everyone calls me Bree. It does
So
not
it's
bother me.
Brianna.
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 See?
It's hard.
Brianna.
See?
There's so many different ways to
I
say
know,
No,
it.
I know that was the
Yeah.
problem.
there
So
is.
just
Yeah.
stick with Bree.
Yeah,
Bree.
Yeah,
yeah.
that
So
way-
I am
Farmer's
Bree.
daughter.
Yes.
Farmer's
yes, my
daughter.
dad is a farmer, and my mom now works in real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm currently go to Huntington University. I'm a junior there, and I'm a nursing student.
Wow.
Yes,
That's
So,
amazing.
and then I worked
Tough
at
schedule.
I worked at the Country Post for about 4.5 years.
Shout out to the Country Post.
Shout out to
It's
the
the
Country
best
Post.
place ever.
Yep,
yeah.
I waitress there. So
Gravy.
good job. But yeah, that's pretty much school is my whole personality. So
Oh, I guarantee it, especially
yeah,
nursing
there's not
school.
much about me. Yes,
Yeah.
It's not much about you.
Yeah, that's literally all I do. You know that.
Yeah, I do know that. I mean, I'd come home at nights and the books that they have to go through.
I bet.
Judas, I would.
Yeah.
I bet.
Ugh.
Because you have to memorize like a whole bunch of
Oh yeah,
things.
Yeah,
they're,
they
they're
would
very
be getting-
expensive.
Medicine.
One book is probably like $300.
Wow.
Sometimes it depends. Like my anatomy book was $400.
Oh my gosh, I just could never get over like memorizing all of the prescriptions.
Yeah, I have to take that this
Prescriptions?
semester. Don't
Yeah.
scare me.
Pharmacology.
Yes, you have
Yeah.
to memorize. Even
Yeah.
as a dental hygienist, you have to do that too. Because my sister went through dental
Really?
hygienist.
It's a whole
yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole class I have to take it. This
You
year.
have
It's like a
every
3-hour.
single
A 5.
one. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
It's a 5-hour class.
Judas, it
Yeah.
should be easy. It's Sudafed,
No.
Excedrin, migraine,
Oh no. There's
NyQuil, Dayquil. I mean, what else do people
oh
take?
tons.
Did you hear it's a 5-hour class?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like right at 5 hours.
Ugh.
For how many weeks? 8?
No, the whole semester.
Oh,
So from August to
gosh.
December. Yeah.
And
so-
you're only talking about medicine in there?
Yeah, just that class. I mean, I have other classes.
See,
they're
that's-
all like 3 or 4 hours.
That's crazy.
Like clinicals.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is she ain't never going to be given medicine.
No.
No.
The doctor tells
Yeah,
them
the
how to
doctor
give
tells me
medicine.
what to give.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why does it matter?
Because they have to know.
We have to know like side effects, dosages, what
okay.
intervenes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it makes sense, but in reality, like, how much of that am I really gonna remember in 2 years?
No, I know.
Well, you could have somebody coming in the ER that overdosed on sleep aids.
Nobody in general.
Not sleep aid, but
Nobody
Yeah.
in general.
No.
Yeah.
You would have
I
to
don't
know
think it
that.
was sleep aids.
No,
I
it was
figure what you said.
anti-diarrhea.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
See,
Because
that's
she
why
was
I'm
trying
not
to get
working in
high.
the ER.
I would love to work in the ER.
That is
Why?
no.
Because it would be so fun. I don't know. You just get to see like everything.
Oh,
Yeah, I have 2 options. I'm either gonna go in the NICU with babies
Oh,
or
that's
surgery,
calm.
and people are asleep.
There you go.
So I don't have to deal with that.
I
No
can't-
anti-diarrhea meds.
NICU, that would be rough.
Yeah.
I don't think I
I've
could
always
do
I
that.
wanted to do
think
that.
she would be better.
Yeah, I wrote a
with the
paper in
NICU.
7th
NICU?
grade and
About it?
about that I wanted to be a NICU nurse, and
Wow.
it got read to the principal and superintendent. Yeah, in 7th grade.
So you have
Wow.
to. You
I
have to go through.
I have to. If I don't, everyone will be really sad.
Yeah.
No choices. You
No,
have to go.
she already
No.
laid it down
Yeah.
for your life.
Yeah.
In 7th grade.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
Well, to help people, so before we get into like what we were talking about on Sunday morning and stuff, part of it is like knowing your journey. So talk a little bit about how you grew up, like from a faith perspective and, you know, kind of where you're at in your faith and how you got there and help people get that picture. And because what we've been talking about, and this was with Mitchell and Ashley, and this with Morgan Gardner, I mean, somewhat, you guys are somewhat of an anomaly, you know, because very few young people today are making decisions to be followers of Christ.
Yes.
Very few people care that much about their friends and reaching them for Christ.
Right.
And so part of what we're going to talk about is that, but I think a lot of that, you know, or maybe does or doesn't have to do with your journey and where your journey was in faith. And so that people can kind of see where that comes from so we can get an idea or they could get an idea, you know, how that looks. So,
Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah.
to go ahead and start?
So basically, I grew up in the church, per usual, just like everyone says. But yeah, my parents went to church.
thing.
Yeah, so like at
Where
that
did
point,
you guys go to church?
Wabash Friends. When my
Did
dad
you
lived
really?
in Wabash, yeah,
Oh,
or like right out
okay.
there. We were right outside
To
of Wabash.
Friends? Oh, I know people that go to Friends.
Yeah.
The Bassetts. Do you know the Bassetts?
I do, actually.
That's my mom's best friend.
I'm pretty
Edna.
sure.
Yeah.
That's
Do
where
they
your
live in
mom goes?
Wabash?
They live in Wabash, yeah.
Does
That's
she
where
have
your
like
mom goes?
No.
young kids? Like young, they were young.
Well, they were young. Yeah.
like when I was young.
No.
Oh,
Nope.
well, I thought maybe I knew them. Maybe
No.
not.
Maybe. Who
Just
knows?
say you do, because
I
nobody
do,
knows.
exactly.
So,
I know.
I
thought
love
maybe.
the Bassets.
Yeah.
They're the nicest
They're the
family
best.
ever.
He's a farmer, so he's
Maybe.
a farmer.
I mean,
so I
sure,
feel like
I'm sure somewhere
Yeah.
my family knows.
that's cool.
Yeah, but anyway, that's where I went to church. And then that church was connected with a church camp in Warsaw. It was called Quaker Haven, and so that's where I grew up. I went there
Quaker
from
Haven.
Quakers.
from about third grade until my senior year of high school. And so that's where I really like started to make my faith my own, probably
Yeah.
more around middle school, I think, because the elementary school is kind of just like, a kid's ministry. Like it's
Right.
like, about Jesus, about the Bible and everything, but you never really do a lot to make it your own. And so I think middle school is really the time that I hit that because I had struggled a lot just with trying to figure out who I was and like my home life and just everything else. And I felt like I was growing up and no one else around me was because I'm a very, very independent person. I don't like asking for help. I don't want to tell people my problems. I know. I
Same.
heard that last week on the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's definitely where I made it my own. And then when my parents got a divorce, I think that's where everything shifted because then I was mad because I was like,
How old were you?
a freshman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, and those
so
are like years that
I was old
matter.
enough to understand it, but I was still very angry because I was
Yeah.
like, they were everything. And
Yeah.
I relied on my family for that. And so it took a lot of time for me to kind of move on, understand, and not necessarily forget, but forgive. I think
Yeah.
because I was mad at both my parents and there was no reason to be. They raised me well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely where it took a turn. And I was like, I need to figure out my faith because that's the whole reason I was mad. I was mad because, I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't talk to God about it. I was just mad at myself about it because at the time, I thought it was like my fault. And so my brother was so young, I had no one to talk to about it. But yeah, that was definitely the time. And then...
Well, real
Just,
quick,
yeah.
Bree, if you don't mind talking about it, because we talked about this last week. So a lot of kids today are coming from, we call it broken homes. I don't even know if that's the right terminology.
Right.
Divorced homes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put a bad spin on it. It's called broken just
Right.
because if it's a divorce.
Right.
But it is, we're saying broken because it's different, right? So it's not what people are used to. It's not what you grew up with. It's not per se normal.
Right.
And so how much of that had an effect on, again, you said, it was a time when you were trying to figure out your faith.
Right.
But for a lot of kids, this is like a breaking point, right?
Yeah.
Where it goes in the complete
Yes.
opposite
Yeah,
direction.
I definitely, my parents, they got along really well and they still do. And so that's where I don't think my family fits the norm of divorce. My parents, we still get together for holidays. Like it's basically
That's
they're
so
divorced.
good.
We just don't live together.
Okay.
And so they talk to each other, they co-parent very well. And so I was never like my friends had divorced parents, but I never related to them in that sense because their parents hated each other.
Okay.
My parents don't hate each other.
Right.
And so it was just a hard point because I saw our family and how well it was working. I never knew what was going on behind closed doors because I was so young. I was like 14 maybe.
Right.
And so I think I didn't feel like anyone understood what I was going through because they're like, oh, we shouldn't be mad. Your parents still get along, the kind of deal.
Right.
And so it was just hard for me to grasp the concept of, okay, I'm going to have to go back and forth, which I didn't. And I made my own choice because I was old enough. But it was definitely, I felt like no one understood where I was coming from. And I think it played a part into me not being able to figure out who I was because my identity at that point wasn't my parents.
Right. And at that time, did your parents keep going to the same church?
So we went to church there, all the way up right until the divorce. And then I think there was probably a span or 2 or 3 years where we didn't go to church at all.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
I think right when all that was going down south and my mom was trying to find a house and because my dad stayed where he is now because of the farm.
Right.
And so I think we tried Union Church when we first moved back into Huntington. And then we went there twice and then we came here and then we have always been here since. And so
Okay.
it's been since I was a freshman that we've been coming here.
Did you come here before you knew Isaac?
Yeah. She came here and she's dating Carter.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I didn't really know a lot about Isaac then, but yes, so we actually did not go to church for a while, and then my mom really wanted to try
remember,
again.
she started coming when we did our small group. And remember when it was like one of the last years that we were doing it, we started having kids like not coming. And we kept trying to get him to come. She was the only one that was like getting him to go to our small group and getting him
to get Carter
Yeah,
to
because
come.
at the time, yes, I was dating him. So
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so we ended up here, and then we've been here ever since.
That's how I was
How'd you end
here.
up here?
We were trying churches in Huntington. We were just trying to find people. And I ironically said, I've heard a lot of people like Mike Hill. Like, I really said that.
That is so funny.
We knew nothing about the
is so
church
funny.
because we always went in Wabash.
Yeah.
That was the one and only
Yeah.
church I'd ever been to. I knew the pastor very well. I mean, he dedicated me. I mean,
Yeah.
he spoke at my church camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and then he retired. And so then we left after he retired because the pastor or preacher or whatever that came
Yeah.
in we were not a fan of.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, then we left, and then the whole divorce happened, and then I think it was a couple years before we went back to church, and then my mom had always wanted to try. I mean, she listened to churches, and I tried, but at that point, I really wanted nothing to do
Yeah.
with faith or
Yeah.
going
Right.
to church.
And that's like at a time that you really need
That's
it.
a time that you really need it.
Yeah.
I was struggling a lot.
Because you were shocked. I'm sure that was a shock.
It was an absolute shock to me. I remember every detail about it, and it was just like my whole world ripping apart. And at that time I was a hormonal, moody 14-year-old, and so it did not work out well.
But I don't think there's a good age for that. And
No.
because that happened to me later on in life
Yeah.
where my parents were going through the same thing but didn't go through with it. But I think it doesn't matter what your age is because it's still, especially when it's shocking like that.
Yeah, it was definitely shocking, but I tell my parents all the time that I'm very thankful for what they still have.
Yeah.
And just, it's not as hard as it could be. My parents talk,
Yeah.
they do everything. Like, we do still do things together. And
That's
they don't
amazing.
talk bad about each other. That's the one thing that I think helped me heal a little bit from that was it was never one parent bad-mouthing the other. And that's all my friends talked about.
Right.
Oh, my mom said this about my dad, that thing. So I think I just felt misunderstood and just kind of alone in that time.
Yeah. And so in all of that, I mean, to help us get a better perspective, because that's part of what we're going to be doing with this new podcast that we launch is trying to get to know what happens in all of that. So the reason to disconnect from the church, was it because of anger towards God, anger towards your parents, and or just all of the above? Like
Is
what?
I think it was all the above.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't remember much about that, but I think it was both because I definitely was angry at my parents, but not in a sense of why would you do this to me?
Right.
It was more of my family was getting taken away,
Right.
everything I'd known.
Yeah.
And so I was mad at God because I
Yeah.
thought, oh well, God allowed this to happen,
Yeah.
kind
Right.
of deal. Because that's
Right.
I think where my standpoint was at that time.
Right. And so at that point, it's just become numb or
Yeah.
become angry or just
Yeah.
become disconnected. Right. And and so what do you think brought you back? Was it because your mom? Was it because of you? What reconciled? Because I think this is the journey that a lot of people are on, and it could be a lot of things. So it's divorce, it's death, it's some sort of a tragedy.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was definitely my mom at first.
Okay.
And then, the more we kept coming, the more I enjoyed it. And then I had a lot of people reach out to me like Jen Gerber. And obviously I'd known them before, but when I started in children's, and then I think when I started becoming a teacher in children's is really when I found this is what I am meant to do here. I know I have a place in the church. Obviously I loved the sermons and I wanted
Right.
to keep coming, but once I started doing children's because of
different.
Jen, I knew, and I was this is definitely this is my calling
Right.
in the sense of the church.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of when I started to come back to it. And then definitely as cliche as it sounds, Isaac was a helper in that.
Aw.
Because I was
Look
in
at
a,
him
yeah, I
smiling.
was in a terrible place when we
Right.
met. I had just gone through an awful breakup and didn't really want anything
wow.
to do with anyone. I was very sick. And so he definitely was a person involved in that.
Yeah, and
That's
so
amazing.
in that, so we again shout out to your mom because again, part of it really because that's what we're trying to identify. So
Right.
because she was persistent and at least said, "Hey, come
Yeah.
with me."
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I think sometimes that's where it gets lost. Parents don't want to force their kids to do anything or don't
Right.
want to include them when it comes to that.
Yeah,
because
and
they-
she definitely not really forced us, but she's we are going.
Right.
And I think that was one thing I've always looked up to my mom for everything, and she never lost faith through anything.
Right.
Ever. Anything in divorce, when she was job switching, she's never lost faith in
Right.
anything. And so I think she's been my role model in that.
Yeah.
Through all
Yeah.
those things, you shouldn't lose faith over something.
Right. So a lot of it, again, part of what we're identifying is so parents initially have a lot to do with
They
it.
do. I think it's a lot more than
essence of
people
this.
say.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, that the parents,
Right.
because again, possibly in the divorce situation or tragedy, parents just disconnect too, and if they're disconnected and aren't doing anything to help get that back, or get somebody to encourage them to come back, and And I think that's something that I think we'll learn over time. Because I think whether it's a parent or whether it's a mentor, meaning a coach, teacher, I think they could, if parents are involved, I think if you had somebody that you're close to could also say, you know what, I'm going to church, come with me.
Yes.
You know, and I think we miss that part.
Thing.
I think we just say to the young people, well, they'll come if they want to come. And we don't seek it out. Like, I don't think we're going out there saying, hey, I know this person. They're not going to church. I'm going to tell them, I'm coming. I'll pick you up. Right? Because I think it takes that initial push, you know, to get them back in. Because I think even in homes today, parents aren't forcing their kids to go to church.
Yes.
And they're like, well, you shouldn't force your kids to go to church because then what are they going to get out of it? And I'm like, well, what are they going to get out of it at home? You know what I mean? I mean, so you got a choice. You can say, well, they're going to be here. And in being here, we're going to hope that the Holy Spirit works.
Right.
Or you can just say, well, we're just going to let them stay at home. And then what do you get? Right. And I think that's where parents struggle, because once they get to that age where they fight you, which is in middle school, where all kids lose their mind, and they're going to fight you, you know, because that's what they do when they get the age of like, I can make these decisions. You know, or they get to an age like where they get their license and they're like, you can't tell me. And I'm like, dude,
adults.
First of all, if you're living here, you're going. You
That's
know?
how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I don't think a lot of parents do that today.
No, because I think it's out of the fear of if you force your child to go, then they're going to grow up and hate the church because you didn't give them an option. But really, if they're staying at home, you're not giving them an option to hate or love God either.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we would just identify, regardless, they're leaving anyway. Right. So, I mean, I would much rather, I mean, that's what we talked about at church Sunday. I mean, obviously we should do something.
Leave with that seed.
I mean, at least they've had something that's planted. And then if they choose to walk away, they choose to walk away. But again, because I've always said this, you know what's so hard is like if kids don't understand authority, because I think this is a big deal today. Like, I don't think kids understand authority. Like, somebody is over you. You live under this roof. There are rules you are doing. And then you say, you know what? You should submit to the authority of God.
They don't get it.
They don't, well, how would they get it? They don't have to submit to you.
Yeah.
You know, there is no authority in your home. So why would they submit to the authority they can't see? Anyway, that's good. So Isaac, give us a little bit of your background story.
Background, like the whole story?
Well, I'm just saying,
like spiritually.
Yeah, I mean, just all of it, just all the way through. I mean,
so
being a pastor's kid.
Obviously I grew up in church with my dad sitting next to me.
Were you always like when because I know that you're a little bit younger than everybody. Were you like, how young were you when he started in ministry?
Before he was born.
Okay, so you
I
were
was
born
a part-time
into it.
youth pastor.
Okay,
whenever before.
So it's all
he was
you've known.
born.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've grown up like the church when we moved here. I mean, I've essentially grown up with it.
Okay.
That it's pretty close on. I forget.
Yeah, I mean,
what
we've
it is.
been 18 years and he's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
So since we moved to Huntington, it was like I've been here since the church has started.
Wow.
So I've seen just about every single phase of Life Church, which has been awesome because it was like what you're talking about the past weeks. That I mean, it's a complete change. But yeah, so I grew up in the church. I mean, I would say you could think it was easy to piggyback off your parents when your dad is a pastor, because when I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying when you're a kid and you don't really like understand much, like it's obviously we had a lot of faith talks and it made sense. And I mean, I feel like you don't really take it as your own until like you have something that makes you take it as your own. And I mean, when I went out on the mission trip we went to in my 8th grade year, we were like redoing some stuff in Chicago, and we did it through the church, I think. And that was one time where it was like the first time I can remember clearly like God filling me with the fire, because it was like something I don't even know how to describe to people, because I'm like, I don't know how to tell you like what that feeling was like, but I'm like, I know God was working through me. And then it was crazy because it was like that very first time that I felt that, and then like 2 days later, that it was like me and a couple of my buddies, we get a phone call saying our friend just died. So it was like,
oh my gosh.
It was like right then and there that it was like instant.
So it was like you needed that.
Yeah, it was like an instant test of faith.
Oh, you think it was a test of faith?
Well, I mean, again, because he's just on fire and now his friend.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because again, at that time, I mean, Lucas was only in.
I was going to say, I was like going into my 8th grade year, going into my freshman year. I don't remember which one it was.
That you got that? Like,
what do you mean?
Were you praying? Did something like, was there a
They brought
moment?
fire.
It was
Yeah.
nice to get out of your environment for one, and then
Yeah.
actually like not only be out of your environment, but like serve the Lord in
Yeah.
everything you do, no matter what, throughout the day.
Yeah.
So like nothing like Leader Treks is very good if you've ever done mission trips with them. They're very time oriented. So it's like even if you're like 30 seconds late, like they're on you about being
goodness.
late. And so you have like your schedules day to day, and it's like bam, bam, bam. And I mean, you're serving the Lord all day long.
Okay.
So everything you do, whether it's serving the community or you go to, I mean, we're essentially in the hood of Chicago, and there's this sweet lady that we were remodeling her home for, and she was just to see like the appreciation that they
Yeah.
like, that you can be the love of God to someone. And that's something that like I've always been passionate about, whether my faith has been terrible or my faith has been good. I've always cared about other people, even though I say I don't like to talk to other people and all that stuff. But it's always been like my biggest, not downfall, but it's always like I would do anything for other people. And it's always just for the sake of like, I know that it would be like I would rather me go to hell over them go to hell.
Yeah.
So it's like even though if my faith wasn't good, like I want to make sure their faith is good, even though if I'm not doing good.
But
And
that's your
always,
gift. I
yeah,
think that's
and
your
that's always
gift.
been like on my heart. I mean, for as long as I can remember, whether it's in elementary school or like I can remember sitting on the playground in elementary school, like asking my friends, like, "Will you come to church with me?" And it was like, it's always been a passion of mine to like reach out and like be the love to someone else, because
Yeah.
I've always said that it's like it's the reason it was so hard for me, like when I would make mistakes throughout my journey, because I'm like I'm ruining how people see Jesus, because I'm like
yeah.
especially being a pastor's kid, I'm like I already have a label on me.
Yeah. Yes.
And whether I like it or not, because people that aren't in the church, I mean, will look at me and be like, okay, well, that's someone important, you know, in the
yes.
church. That
Yeah, you're
is like
watched.
when I would trip up, that it's like it seems worse because I'm seen as the staple around it. And but
They
it's,
must not have looked at the pastor.
Must not have.
or looked in their own heart, like
Yeah.
everyone.
Right.
But yeah, my faith journey has had a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of deaths in my life and I've always said that that's what made me have to like grow up and figure things out really quick. Cause I mean, I was 15 years old, I think, when Lucas died. And then it was just like the next 3-4 years. I mean, it was just like another death of a loved one after another one, after another one, after another one. And it was like, I felt like every time that I would like try and get close to God, like something else would happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it's just constant faith test after faith test. And I mean, for a while, there was that point where I'm like, it was almost like I was scared to get close to God, because I'm like, I'm tired of like all of these things happening.
Losing somebody.
So it wasn't like I like lost my faith, but it just felt like I was like stagnant. Like I didn't want to do anything because it was almost like I was just scared to do something. And so those kind of years were a lot more difficult, because it felt like, and I know you've said this on the podcast before, of like the battle, like mentally, that it was like, I always felt that with, I think like Satan attacking me the most, that it's like my mind like never stops no matter what, that I'm like always thinking about something.
Right.
And so especially during all of those things, it was like, I felt like I had to figure it out on my own, because I'm like, who's going to understand a 16-year-old that has lost all of these people? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I felt like, I'm like, it wouldn't make sense if I would try to tell you about like how I felt deep down, you know, because I'm like, what do you say?
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, it's something, I mean, adults have a hard time figuring out. And so it's like, how do I figure it out?
Have a hard time sharing their feelings.
Yeah, or have a hard time sharing their feelings, have a hard time grieving, like
Or
just
understanding you.
learning what death is like actually like when it hits home, you know, because it's a lot different when someone dies and you're like, oh man, that's sad, but it doesn't affect you. But when it does affect you, I mean, it's like your whole world changes.
Yeah.
And so throughout those years, I mean, it was a lot of mental battles. And so it was kind of cool on how me and Bree met, because she was kind of going through her own thing and I was going through my own thing. And it was almost like we had to like build it together to like get back to where we could even just start again, because we were both like so far down that it was like, we need to put the pieces back together before we can even restart this. Because I would say we were both at some pretty low points, because it just felt like one, like I said earlier, like one thing would happen after the next thing. So that's really when it was like, okay, I have to take this all for my own and we can do this together. Because it was like throughout those years before that, I was just tired of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was always like, I would still come to church and I would still pray, but it was like I wasn't actively like working in my faith.
You were
like
just
I wasn't growing.
Yes.
Like I was just existing.
Yeah.
And it was always like anytime in the sermons we talk about being lukewarm, and I'm like, I know I'm being lukewarm, but it was almost like I didn't care because I'm like, I don't want to be attacked again.
Yeah.
And so it was like this biggest mental battle that it's like, you know, when Satan's talking in your head, he's like, oh, you're lukewarm, but you're also not going to do anything about it.
Right.
And so then it was the guilt of like, I know I'm not doing what I should be, but I'm also scared to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you make me feel bad about both things. And you do it at once, and it's like, it's debilitating almost. So it's like really trying to feel like getting out of that rut where it's like, I am worthy to, be forgiven, that it's like, yeah, I was mad at God. Who wouldn't be mad at God?
Everybody would.
That's also, I think it's given me the best perspective on to like, 'cause I'm very passionate about reaching other people and like sharing my story. I'm like, yeah, I was in a very terrible spot, but so are you. I know, I know what it was like. And so I think it's been really helpful that, a lot of conversations that I've had with other people that they're going through the same things and having the same thoughts and doing all those kind of things. And like, I'm their shoulder they can lean on, that it's like, even out of our friends that we've talked to, a couple of our close ones, that anytime we start having a deep conversation, they're like, well, we're scared, we're scared to bring it up because they're like, we feel like we don't go through enough. I think that's like a big,
you have to be transparent with them.
Yeah, it has to be like a big stigma of like they didn't lose all these people,
so they don't feel like
they don't feel like their problems are good enough. And I'm like, listen, whether
they
it's
don't, you mean they can't say it because they think
they think I went through more than them, and so then you get this.
We've talked about that on here before,
or just that they think that we're better Christians than they are, but we're all really in the same place.
Yeah, and then I'm like, listen, I was just as lost as you were. I'm like, if not, I was probably more lost than you were. And I'm like, but take it from someone that's been lost.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
Right, because you didn't have anybody at that time to understand you. And you said that too. So it's like you went through everything and now you're using it for good. And you're using it for people that maybe don't have anybody to understand them. I think that's beautiful.
That's definitely what
I think it's really relatable when you're talking to these high school kids that are trying to figure it out. And I'm like, I was trying to figure it out. And I think they need to hear it from someone that's closer in their age to say, these things aren't worth it. Take it from someone that's been there, and walked that road. And that was like the biggest thing when we were doing our small group. And a lot of the kids were just saying they really like to come because they was like, I'm like, we're only a couple years out of high school. I know what goes on in high schools.
Yeah.
It's that's a lot different perspective to them because it's just like I was walking down the same hallways you were.
Yeah.
Like I know what's said, I know what's done. Like I know all of these things.
They just said they wanted someone to talk to.
Yeah, but no one will take a stand for it. And I think that's the biggest thing of someone their age taking a stand and being like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Because all the people that are seen as Christians, I feel like our age, are just seen as goody two-shoes that never can have fun and do all of these kind of things. And in all reality, I'm just as broken as you are. I just want to help you, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand now. Anything else I leave out?
No,
it was good.
No, but again, one of the things that I think is interesting is to talk a little bit about, because I think we're going to try to figure out tools, right? So what are things that you can take from your story and then people can learn from? So you both came together, which in any relationship advice, everybody would say, such a terrible idea for you guys to be in a relationship when you're both broken.
Yes.
But again, you guys made it work, and you both said that you put the pieces back together, or you helped each other put the pieces back together. What does that mean? Like, practically, how did you guys help each other? Because I always said, again, watching Isaac be my son, Bree's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah,
no, I'm serious. Like, Isaac and his emotional, because Isaac's our emotional kid.
Yes, because he's the baby.
Kind of.
No, the babies.
No, not emotional in, like, he's more
sensitive feelings. No, he's very, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the right word is.
I care a lot about other people.
It's the baby syndrome.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, really
Whatever it is that And again, he went through probably more than the rest of them, you know, whenever they were young. So knowing that there were struggles, but again, you know, right or wrong, I'm the type of dad of like, hey, I'm here. I'll do whatever. I wasn't the one saying, hey, you want to sit down and talk about your deepest feelings? You know, I'm not that guy, you know, whether that's shame on me as a father or not, but that's just the way that it was. You know, I didn't do those things, but as soon as he met Bree and they started going down this road, you could just see change, you know, because it's not the first person he dated.
Right.
You know, and you could just see there was something about Bree that made Brady or made Isaac a better man in his life. And so something happened in you guys' relationship, or you did something in your relationship that I think helped both of you get to places that God wanted you to be. Can you talk about any of those things?
Yeah, so, I mean, before we even met, I mean, I essentially got to a point where I'm like, I don't ever want to be in a relationship again.
Yeah.
Because it was like I was trying to fill the hole where God was supposed to be with someone that would like make me feel loved instead of like having God be someone to love me. And it just got me hurt every single time. And every single time was just worse. And so I was just like, all right, God, I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, I don't ever want to do that again. And so every night when I would be praying, I'm like, if you wish me to be with someone, I'm like, put someone in my life. Because I'm like, if you don't, I will not look. I'm like, I will not be actively searching at all. And I didn't talk to anyone. I hardly even talked to my friends at that own point, that I was just like doing my own thing, ready to get out of there. I'm like, I wanted nothing to do with it anymore. And then we would just pass by each other in the hallways.
He would make fun of me.
And I would,
You would make fun of her?
He
called me ugly.
Yeah, because she was dating one of my friends at the time.
Wait, for real? Like, that's not a joke?
Well,
No,
no,
it was a joke. It was a joke.
You know how guys flirt with insults?
Yeah.
That's how guys flirt?
Yes.
High school guys.
Yeah.
Really?
Kind of.
Well, I mean, not really like
Doesn't make
insults, but they like
Doesn't make
they'll
sense
just
at
say
all.
things that'll like tick you off.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she was
I don't
dating.
know what the mental part of that
I
is.
don't
Like, that makes no sense.
I don't know.
Women hate it, or girls
Yeah.
at that age.
Yeah.
Anyways.
She was dating one of my friends at the time. So, I mean, we like kind of knew of each other, but like not really. I didn't really know of her other than she was my friend's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And so she would randomly pass me in the hallways and I would just say something stupid to her. And that was essentially the only time we've
That
ever
was the
talked.
extent of it.
Yeah. That the only conversations we've ever had. And then she reached out to me. It was funny because Mitch said he did it on Snapchat, and ours was the same way.
Seriously?
That-
Ironically
On
enough,
Snapchat?
yeah.
That I posted.
It was in like January
Yeah.
or something.
That it was like something sad I posted on, and she like it was like a song or something, and she like slid up on it, and we like
up on it.
yeah
That sounds so dumb now. I don't even
yeah. So you like you
went
replied
in,
to
yes,
you
yeah.
replied to
to
the
them.
story because it was like a song.
But he slid up
Yeah,
on
but
it.
you slide up and then you type your reply.
Yeah.
And it was
Got
like
it.
it was like a
Got it.
song, and she
And it was a
talked to
sad
me.
song?
Yeah, something like that. I
I
told
don't
you
really
I was
remember.
I was not in the
He
right.
was depressed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was. And she reached out, and we just started talking. And I essentially have never talked to her before, and it was funny hearing the perspective after. Cause she's like, "I thought you were never going to talk to me." So she was like, "I was worried that you weren't going to reply to me or do
Really?
anything like that." So before we even thought about dating,
We didn't. When
That-
I first slid up on him or whatever. Yeah, but it was honestly, it was in all innocence. Like I was like, no, we weren't friends at
it
that
was
point.
like
but
she
it
was
like, I
reaching
was
out for
reaching
someone
out.
to talk to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I knew that I could talk to him. I heard a lot of things about him. So I was like, oh, I'll just like talk to him and see what he's like. But I had no intentions of dating him. And I mean, skipping the story, we didn't even start dating till like 5 months after that.
Wow. So you weren't in a relationship at this point?
No, at that
no.
point we had broken up. I
Okay.
think the guy that I was dating, I think we broke up in like November of that year. And I
Okay.
didn't even reach out to him until January. So it had been a couple
Okay.
months. Obviously, I didn't
So were
take
you
long
thinking
enough.
about it before that?
No.
Okay. It's just something
It was
about
just
that.
like, oh, it was this
snap.
stupid
Something
kid in
about
the
that
hallway.
story
Something
was
about
worth
that story
sliding
just
up
got
on.
me.
That song.
Yeah,
I had to slide up on that
Well, we
song.
met. I think it all started was. Is Dawn gonna be mad if we tell?
Just do it.
Does Don listen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, she
we
didn't care.
we met for the first time. So I drove over to her house.
Oh, did you
on
sneak
one-
in?
No,
Not sneak in.
Oh.
Her mom was just at work, and we seriously just sat on the couch and just
I probably cried for like 5 hours.
aired our not grievances, but just like laid it all out on the table for like the next 3 days in a row. I mean, for like 3-4 hours a day, we just sat there and talked. And that's all we did was sit there and talk about everything that was going on. And then it seemed like after that, it was like I knew her my whole life. And I'm like, in my heart, I knew she was the one. It was like as soon as I got done talking to her, it was like when I was talking to her, it was like when I was looking in her eyes, I'm like, everything I feel, she's feeling.
Yes.
So it was like God was like calling me to put her back together and for her to put me back together. That it was like we were both feeling the same like deep down pain, I think, in like 2 different ways. And then it was like God, I mean, I always said like the term, like when you know it's the one is like cliche, but I'm like, it for sure makes sense because I'm like, I dated a decent amount of girls and I'm like, I never felt anything. No.
I was going to say, are you going to be like Ashley where she's like, I'm never dating Mitchell because he's a player?
No, I did not think that about him, but
no.
I didn't, like I said, I didn't really know him. No. Honestly, I kept to myself. I had my one friend group, he had his friend group, and that was about it.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like after a year of us dating, I'm like, if you ever said I would have been dating Brianna, I'm like, I didn't even know who that was. You know, so it was
which is so weird because well, like, you know, with Sarah and her kids go to Northfield. So they have 67 people in their graduating class for her son. Like Huntington Norris, 300-400.
Oh, yeah.
We had like 400.
So you listen to to her kids talk, like they know everybody. Oh yeah, you know, such and such, and they know every family and everything. That it's possible to go to the same high school and not even know somebody. That's all.
You see new people all the time.
See, okay, something interesting that I've been, like, I just found up yesterday. If you have a date with somebody and it's like this 36 questions that somebody came up with that said it will create love, like in the first hour that you meet somebody. And I went through the questions and then I like dug deeper on it. And it was because they're sharing their most like innermost like hurts, kind of, I would say like what you guys did. And then like looking in the eyes, you have to look in the eyes to your date for 4 minutes.
Which I hate that because he knows I hate eye contact. It's the thing I can't do.
Really?
I won't make eye contact with someone for more than like 5 seconds.
You guys need to do it for 4 minutes.
Gosh, I can't.
I'm telling you, it changes your life.
I seriously can't. It's a problem.
Can you make eye contact with somebody for 4 minutes?
I think I could, yeah.
I don't think you could.
Yeah, I do.
See, I think if I was...
When I talk, I looked like different ways.
I look behind people.
That's my point. Yeah, so like when we're in meetings, like you never make eye contact.
Yes, I do.
No, you're always looking over my shoulder
No,
or you're
I'm
looking
not.
at your computer.
Or writing.
That's the point. You never make eye contact.
Yes, I do. We'll wait.
We're gonna see what that looks like in our next meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're one of those people like you're talking to me and I'm here, and you're like this, like you're talking.
I think you need glasses.
I do. I really do. I do need glasses.
He does.
I feel like that's what we kind of did though. Not really like the 36 questions, but which is odd because I'm not a very trusting person. Like I don't trust a lot of people. I'm very careful with who I don't know, spill my heart out to. Yeah, and it's actually my favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart for whatever you do flows.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't trust anybody.
I don't trust anyone. That was a very hard thing. So it was very unusual for me. For like the first second we meet, I'm just like telling him everything in my life that's ever happened. And
That's
especially
unusual.
guys. I stayed away from guys. I did not I just didn't, with how the world is, I just didn't trust anyone. And so it was just definitely...
Are you
it sounds like a bad idea.
Are you more trusting, like to tell people your life story?
No. Well, I would say now I was, but I mean, it wasn't more of like tell them my story. It was more of like trust them with how I actually feel.
Okay.
Because it was like anytime I would actually let people into my heart, then they would just hurt me. So it was like, that's how I was guarded. That it was like, I wanted to really make sure that you cared about me before I would open up to you. Because it was like, I was tired of being a doormat for everyone.
So you felt like on that first night or day or whatever that you guys hung out, that you let that go, like your guard.
Yeah, it was 100%. And I know we've talked about it before, but for the podcast, I mean, it was 100% a God thing.
Yeah.
Because
there's no way that broken of people could have gotten together and made it work out without, doing something stupid or getting into trouble or like anything like that.
We didn't even talk to date. I mean, we talked to help each other for, months. That it was just trying to make each other happy again. And we were never friends, never talked before. And then it was just like instantly like she was my number one supporter.
Yeah,
going through
that's so cool.
Right. And again, so bringing it back to like what we talked about on Sunday. And we talked with, Mitch and Ashley about this. We've talked to a lot of people about it. And you guys are in that same generation of missing people, right? And so statistically, I said, well, I didn't say it. It was a Barna study that said, kids that grow up in the church, 70% of them walk away. So these are kids in the church, right? Like these weren't kids out, they've never been in the church and not come. These were kids that grew up in, the typical story of what you hear from people today. Yeah. I grew up in the church and, so these are people that grew up in the church, 70% of them walk away. So talk about from your perspective in your generation, because again, I mean, if you look around at Life Church, the reality is there's not a lot of you, right? I mean, and again, from you guys' perspective, what's the reason? What are the things? What can the church do differently? Let us hear from you guys. What is that perspective? Because we do see it as a sense of urgency, and we want to do something about it. I mean, we don't want to just keep going down the road saying, well, kids are stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that tends to be the new thing. Like millennials and 20-somethings are all idiots. And when they get their life right, then, we'll reach out to them. And I'm thinking, well, that's the stupidest idea ever because they're going to hell.
Yeah.
So you can sit back from your chair and say they're all idiots, which might be true. I'm not saying that there's not immaturity.
Right.
I think there's a lot of that. I think tons of immaturity. I think kids haven't had to grow up, inside of their homes. They haven't had to have responsibility. They essentially have allowed to be selfish their whole life.
Yes.
Because they grew up in a family that said whatever you want. So we raised a bunch of selfish people. But that all being said, so what? So that is what it is. But from you guys' perspective, where is it today, in your mind? What can you guys do differently, or what are you trying to do? What can the church do differently? Just give me your perspective on your generation.
So I think it's a couple things for kids our age in particular. I think you run into a couple different things. So one of them being, I think you have people that honestly don't care about the church at all. There is no sense of urgency where it's they know everything they need to be doing. But there's no sense of urgency.
And they're okay with going to hell.
And they're okay going to hell?
That they're okay with not putting in any effort. That I've had, personal conversations for hours that I'm you've heard the message. What are you doing? And I'm not saying this from a judgmental standpoint. I'm what are you doing? I'm you know what you should be doing. And it's all again of, I don't really care.
That perspective's hard for me to
I think that's the biggest perspective.
It's the hardest thing for me to understand.
Which I don't understand that. Is it because it's not now? They don't think they're going to die yet?
It's just, I'm going to get around to it. It's the biggest thing.
Yes, it's either I'll get around to it or it's just not what they want to hear. It's never what they want to hear. And it's the same thing. They got to do whatever they wanted to do their whole life. No one was an authority figure to them. And I think they just think that Christians are just judgmental, horrible people, basically.
And I also, I'm listening to the Nick Offerman book again right now. I'm re-listening to it. And I think part of the problem is they've been around a lot of crappy religious people. I think that's the second group of people my age that aren't in it, because everyone my age will wear a cross necklace and still do the same things that you do. That they're still out there partying. They're still out there. There is no living witnesses for kids our age for even anyone to look at someone and see Jesus. And the people they do are usually when it was in high school, are just a group of girls in high school that everyone knows they've been the Christian girls, since middle school. It's
very stereotypical.
The same group. It was a very stereotypical, and that it was
and the other kids hated them.
Yes.
And that everyone didn't like them because, they're goody two shoes. They're all A. They do nothing wrong. That they had that whole they're just perfect thing. So, and then everyone else they look at is if that's, all the conversations you have, if that's Christianity, that's easy. Not easy. Not only is it that easy, that I don't have to do anything for it.
Right.
If they're doing that, then why do I need to do anything? They're doing the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think it ruins the view of it for
the 20
us.
something year olds and 30s. I think that's the most difficult ones to come to, because I feel like high schoolers or middle schoolers still have enough influence. Maybe they might have already made up their mind, but I feel especially what I've seen with when we were doing the small group even there was a kid there that flat out said he was an atheist, but he still listened. He still asked questions. Like they're still curious. And then even with the younger ones, when I did VBS a couple weeks ago, like it is so refreshing to see little kids who want to know. And I mean,
they're actually curious.
When I do kids twice a month upstairs. I'm a teacher for kindergarten and first grade, and I have 5-year-olds being able to recite Bible stories to me.
Right.
And that's something that I bet you a 20-year-old couldn't even do.
Right.
So, yeah, I think 20-somethings are going to be the hardest.
I think they more lean on the side of, that's when you say, like, what does the church do? And, like, what do we do? Because it's like every time you share the message, they're essentially just like, I don't care.
Right.
You know?
Or they'll say it like, it hit the
Like
spot, like, oh, that really got me emotional, and then nothing happens.
And then nothing happens. And so then it's like, how many times do you plant the seed before, you're trusting that God will do something? And that's why I've had to remind myself a lot, because it was like people that I knew in my life personally that I was like really passionate about. I'm like, you guys should be coming back in the church and like trying to like figure some of this out a little bit. I'm like, have you looked around and seen what's been going on?
Yeah.
Like, how are you guys doing? Like, do you need work put in? Like, just like look around that everything's going on in the world right now. Like, wake up, like
scary.
It's definitely scary. You see that too, like especially at college. I mean, since I go to HU and it's a Christian school, I mean, it's harder to see my generation not being believers or even whatever religion they believe in. But I mean, like I always said he was the evangelical one. I have a harder time inviting people to church more than talking to them. It's that initial point, and I think that's a lot of people's problems. They're too scared to invite them because what they might say or that they'll say
Fear
no.
rejection.
And then I know the one time that I was legitimately so nervous to ask my friends at college was Sherry's night of worship. And I invited a bunch of girls from my nursing class to come, and I was terrified. They all just kind of said like, okay, because they knew about it. They knew what was going on, but they all came, every single one of them. And then ever since then, I was like, I can do this. Like, I can invite people even if they don't come. And, you see a lot of HU kids come during the school year, but it's just like, when they go home, do they go to church?
Right.
Or do they just come because we're at HU? And like the same thing, we have to get a certain amount of chapel credits. Do they just go get chapel credits, or are they actually going to listen?
Right.
Kind of thing.
And some of those things that, again, happen in you guys' life. So parents, mission trips, getting away, event type things that take you out of your normal environment and then move you to another place. Right?
I think what we've talked about a lot is we should start doing mission trips for kids our age.
Yes. Funny is that's exactly what I have in the works.
Because
doing mission trips with
Yes.
Yeah.
Because until you
With
get
younger
a
people.
complete wake up call that you have it very easy compared to everyone else, that not a lot of change happens.
Yeah.
Until you're out of your comfort zone and then forced, to listen to God and like try and do his work.
Yeah.
That not a lot of change happens. When you're comfortable, nothing happens.
Yeah, and especially if like nothing goes on in their lives. Like I know we were at a really good place when Sherry got sick, and then we had to figure that all out. And then after she passed, it was like we have two choices: we can either be mad at God or we can move on and praise God, basically. And I think that's what not necessarily made us closer together, but you have to be transparent with one another.
Right.
Because that was the first death I've ever had that close. And even though she wasn't my mother, she felt like it.
Right.
And so we talked, and he would even ask me, he's like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Because anytime I saw anyone, they're like, well, how's Isaac?
Yeah. Right.
And that was a difficult
hard.
scenario for me.
For
and
sure.
we've talked about that a lot. And we would get into it a couple times because he's like, you have an opinion just as much as I do. And I think that's something that people don't understand. And I didn't understand at a time point was that you can talk to people and you don't have to be the perfect Christian. Like you can say you're mad at God, you can say you're upset, all these different things. And I think that's something that made us to where we are now, is that we talked through that whole thing. It never sat on the back burner. It was never just like, oh, well, she's gone, let's just not talk about it anymore. Like I think we talk about it weekly. Or there's something that'll always come up. I mean, when he proposed, it got brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, not even right after. I was crying for like 20 minutes because I was like, do you know how bad I want to call her?
Yeah.
And that was just like, it comes up in everyday life. So I don't think people realize that you don't have to be the perfect Christian to come to church.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be seen more.
Yeah.
The vulnerability part of being a Christian.
That's what I tried to tell all the kids in the small group. And I'm like, if you guys would go ask my parents, I was not a perfect kid throughout high school. I'm like,
Does anybody raise a perfect kid?
No,
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
no.
Yeah, then I'm like, I did stupid things just like you guys did. And I'm like, take it from a young kid that did those stupid things with you. Then I'm like, it's not worth it.
Right.
You know, that it's like, but you
You can
just
come back.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm not perfect. And I know, I'm like, I'm not a perfect Christian right now. I'm like, I'm still working on it. But I'm like, that's the difference. I'm like, you know, you're not perfect. We need a savior.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no one's perfect, you know? I mean, it doesn't have to be a saving grace story that you have to have this, you know, perfect salvation
Yeah.
story, you know?
That's what people think.
That's what a
Yeah.
lot of people think.
That's why I think it's good that everyone knows, you know, you can struggle with
Yeah.
whatever, go through whatever, but you can still come out on top.
Yes.
You can still, you know, have your faith,
Yeah.
believe, go to church, everything like that, and reach other people. Because that's the most important.
Right. Yeah, and I think too, like the mission trip idea. This is what when we used to do mission trips all the time. It started when I was a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Because I always said we were trying to get kids to invite kids to youth, and so they did, and it was still different. But as soon as we started doing mission trips to Guatemala, and we said, hey, we're going there and we're going to be with orphan kids, all kinds of unchurched kids came. I mean, all kinds of them.
Really?
Like, I'll go serve at an orphanage. What do you need? Oh, and so they would invite a friend. And I mean, those mission trips, we took up to 30 or 40 kids.
Wow.
You know, and they would, again, work to pay for it.
Yeah.
Go and serve. And again, I've always said this. I mean, I don't know how it all turned out, but God did something to
Yes.
those people while they were there.
Right, of
You
course.
can't go and serve in an orphanage in another
No.
country, or you can't go to Chicago and serve in another way without God, without something being
Yeah.
revealed,
Oh,
without
absolutely.
something happening. And so if you can get people out of their comfort zone, which is the big thing, get them out of their environment, right? Take them out of their environment, put them in a different environment. I just think God can do things in those places, you know, where sometimes that's why I think we got to continue to think about as a church.
Right.
Is if the only option for a young person is to invite them to church, we're never going to win.
Yeah.
No, they'll
I mean,
never
you're just never
come.
going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to get them here.
Yeah.
But if you get a young person an opportunity to invite them to a mission trip, or
Yeah.
you get an opportunity to invite them to a camping trip, an opportunity
Small
to invite
group.
them to something,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think they're going to try that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just for the sheer fact, I think that fits who they
They're
are.
curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think they need to see Jesus. They don't need to hear it.
Yeah.
They need to
They
see
need
it.
to see it because a lot of people say, well, you can't.
Because a lot of people,
hear
even
'em.
our age, I mean, it's the whole faith talk that it's like,
Yeah.
how do you describe faith to someone that needs to see everything?
Yes.
I mean, the biggest thing I think I've seen people say is that, oh, yeah, I believe there's a God. I believe in God, but I don't have a faith. Like, I don't have faith in him that he can do things or that he can, you know, things
Yeah.
like that.
That-
They
that
believe,
it's
but
like
they just don't believe
like
it.
ancient things, you
Yeah.
know, that he did all those things all that time ago, but he doesn't work today.
Like just reading something in a history book or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's
Like,
more
they
seen
acknowledge
as
that the Bible's true,
Yeah.
Right.
but they don't think he can do that now.
Yeah, that it's just a history book, you know.
Which, I mean, faith is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Well, especially when you don't get a chance to practice it.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
Or
and so
see it.
Right. That's my point. So that, I mean, back to what you're saying. So when we think about it in the future as a church, we got to give people opportunities, right? Because again, coming to an event, just coming to Sunday morning or just coming, you know, to be a part of something, that doesn't help.
No.
You know, anything. And,
No.
and again, it might trigger something inside of somebody, but it doesn't necessarily, especially in young people like that, make the difference, you know? And so what are we going to do? One, to fund young people's passion, right? Like that's what we've said. Like we want to be a church that funds young people's passion. So if there's something out there that's like, we know that this works, but because this is different, you know, when I was 21 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old, you don't have any money. Well, I guess you have money. But back then, I mean, you think about it. Somebody that's trying to get
Yeah.
started 25 to 30 years old, they don't have the resources compared to what we have when we're 50. You know, it's just different than what it was. So all of us inside of the church, and this is a call out to anybody inside of the church, open up. If you really want to reach them, I've always said this, then prove it.
Right.
Open up your wallet.
Yeah.
You know, open up your house. Open, you know, that lake house you have, you know, that vacation house you have, you know, that everything that they don't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Open it up. You know, Don Patmore's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
You know, Don's a guy that, down the road has said, and he's been on our podcast before, he's like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever I can to give opportunities, for these things to happen. And if it cost me money and God's blessed him, in his life, but I'm going to open those things up. And I think more people just have to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of selfishly like, I worked my whole life for this and it's just for me now.
Right. Holding on to it.
Yeah. I mean, no, give it away and let people use it and allow young people to reach young people instead of just being like, well, they're stupid. I'm not going to give them. Because you know what? They might use your place and break it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
that might be possible.
But that's just a reality.
Right.
Like, who cares? Though?
Right.
Like, that doesn't really matter. Those are the things we have to do. So we're over an hour. So if you can imagine that. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So let's get into questions. So we'll do questions.
Okay.
And then, we'll end up with, because again, it's almost 2:30. So
Time to feed.
Time to
Time
feed
to
cows.
feed.
Yeah.
All right. So first question from Karen Bennett is, can they describe the process of how they made their parents' faith their own and any potholes that they fell into along the way? I think we kind of,
I think we covered that.
I think we did cover that.
Yeah, I think we covered a major
Yeah.
You have to
part of
work
that.
for it. Doesn't come easy.
Yes. Yeah. It's you
sum it
really
Yeah.
have to take it for your own. I know that sounds kind of bland,
No.
but until you're putting
true.
in the work yourself and sacrificing your own time and taking it and making it your own routine, until
It'll
you do
never happen.
until you do those things, I don't think you'll be stagnant. Because until you make a sacrifice that it's something out of your personal time that you could be doing anything else with.
Yeah.
That, it's your free time and you make the effort towards God. I think he honors that. And I think that's really that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to do is just taking it for your own and being, disciplined and sacrificing those kind of things because it's really easy to be busy and just brush it over and not do it. And that's still something that I have to continue to work on because I get up early in the morning, so I don't really want to wake up at 4 a.m. So it's
that's terrible.
so it's I have to stay consistent on sacrificing time to like journal and read my Bible and put in work because it's really easy for me
It's
to
easy
just
to just
work
say you're busy.
Yeah.
to just work all day long and then get done with work and then I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
want
it's
to
the
do
same thing with
anything
like
else.
school too. I'm reading
I
all
bet.
day, learning all day. Last thing I want to do is read the Bible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to sacrifice.
So you have to be, it's a big, getting back to the whole mental thing. You just have to be mentally tough. David Goggins.
David
Shout out.
Goggins.
Shout out to David
You
Goggins.
can't hurt me.
Yep.
You can't hurt me.
I mean, that's anything in life, until
Yeah.
you want it yourself,
Yeah.
you're not going to do it.
Right.
Like,
But I
yeah.
think Isaac and I, well, Brady too, we've all read that book, You Can't Hurt Me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is somewhat amazing how much of pansy the world is.
Really?
No.
Oh,
I
it
think
just, again, everybody's like, can't push through. There's like this mental barrier, because mental is way more than physical. Like your physical body can be way more.
You can heal so fast.
Yeah, but you can't push past the
Yes,
mental barrier.
right. That's always there.
I could have a whole podcast if we want to talk about the mental,
I would rather
the
be
mental
beat up
toughness
than
stuff.
like abused, like verbally.
Yeah.
But
No way.
that's even something like, we could even recommend that book. It's a not safe for work book.
Is it not?
A lot of cussing.
Okay.
Yeah. But
It
it's
doesn't matter.
But it's good.
Again, again, I guess it does matter.
There's a slippery slope
It does
with that.
matter.
It does
we
matter.
can't recommend books. But again, I hope people can get past that because again, what David Goggins says
Right. Yeah.
inside of there, he's again,
And
it's all just a mental battle. And
Yeah.
you sell yourself short on so much more than what you're actually capable of. And
Yeah.
that alone has helped me in my faith journey of just realizing like mental toughness is not just a workout thing. It's not like it's a life thing.
it's a lifestyle
every-
of discipline.
Every
Yeah.
day
Yes.
you have to wake up and you have to, keep grinding. Like you're continuing to try and improve yourself. So that's why it was like, whether you talk about the Spartan races, any of those
Yeah.
kind of things
That
that
was
it's
terrible.
like,
Yeah, you have to push yourself beyond
but it
what
was
your
just,
body
but it was
wants
just
to.
like you can have every excuse on to why even those races suck, but it's when you go out there and you're really digging down deep and you find out how much of a pansy you are.
Yeah.
Because
Then you push through and it feels so
'cause-
good.
Yeah, because we
Yeah, when
didn't
you finish.
we
Yes.
didn't run
When you
it.
finish.
I loved it in the middle of it.
And we didn't run at all before we trained for our weekend that we did. And that alone, that's one reason I like doing them so much is because you really find out how mentally
Yes.
tough you are.
Yes.
And and I don't use that just as a workout thing. Like that's whether I'm working,
You can just give
that's
up when you're
whether
working
I'm
out.
that's whether I'm reading the Bible because it applies in everything.
Right.
know, that it's like, oh, am I going to complain that I have blisters on my heels while I'm running? Well, there's people that don't eat, every single day.
Or can't run.
There's people
can't walk, can't
that
run.
don't have these abilities to, do any of those things. I'm like, we're soft.
Perspective.
No one has perspective, and we're a lot softer than we think.
Yeah.
Because you'll give a lot more when you sit there and you push for it than you adapt to pushing instead of being stagnant.
Right.
Which is it's a lot easier said than done.
No, for
Oh,
sure.
yes.
No,
So much
I've
easier.
always said, mental discipline, again, back to, if you're not disciplined in your life, how are you going to be disciplined in your faith? Part of the reason of people not ever experiencing faith is because they never put themselves in position to ever have to experience faith.
Right.
Because it's too hard. That's the point.
Yeah,
to have faith is hard.
Yes, it
because
is.
you put yourself in a position that you can't control. That's what faith is. So you, whether it's giving away your money or giving away your time, taking kids in, going on mission trips, those things put you in out of control situations.
Yeah.
And people aren't mentally tough enough to face it. Anything that gets out of control, they just break down. And I'm like, you got to work on that stuff. Get up at the same time, discipline your life. And then when it gets to the tough times in faith, you're going to have the mental toughness to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a lifestyle.
Well, there's one thing that he does in that book. I know we're over time, but it goes along with it, that you one thing that I've tried to do, that you do after action reports. And so you write down every single thing you did in your day.
Okay.
And then including if there was free time. And then you
Okay.
can sit there and you look back at your day and you see how much free time you have when you think you're busy. So it's I write it out, everything
I
that
started doing that.
everything that I've done in my day, and whether I had free time or didn't have free time, or whether, to the point where it's I unloaded calves at this time, that I've tried to keep myself more on a time schedule, because then I can really see him. When I complain, I'm like, oh, I'm tired and I never have time, but I'm like, I do have time. I'm just being weak. That I'm not sacrificing my time.
Absolutely.
So that's a good practice for me, to keep reminding myself that I have work to do, because it's really easy to just sit there and be like, I know I have work to do, but you don't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
When I have a constant reminder that I suck, it makes me want to do something about it.
I just look in the mirror. I had to say that. Bring the eyes. All right, question number 2 from Kaylin. Wow, I need some glasses. That looks like a T. Kaylin Griffith. Is that how you pronounce her last name?
Griffith.
That's weird to
Either
say.
way.
Griffith? Okay, we're just going to say that. She wants to know if you guys pray together.
Yes.
So yes,
But not like Ashley and Mitchell.
Now
Now that Ashley and Mitchell
Not
are the
like
new
Ashley and
standard
Mitchell.
for everybody.
Yeah, it
we
is the
don't-
new standard.
We don't pray together every night, but I feel like what we do more is have in-depth conversations of where we're at. I think we
Okay.
do a good job of checking each other.
Yeah.
and being-
Communication.
Yeah.
He'll tell me when I'm, I need to work on something, or, you need to do this or that in the good way.
Right.
Yeah,
in the good
they're
way.
not, again, just like you said, they're not fun conversations, but it's, again, going back to the point, we all have work to do.
Yeah.
It's just staying up, again, going back to the same thing, just keep reminding yourself, we do have work to do.
Yeah.
And that you don't get caught in just the same schedule and the same routine, and that it's more of, we have a lot of those conversations that it's when I feel like we've been not doing anything or felt like we've been kind of stagnant, that it's okay, let's have a come to Jesus meeting and see where we're at, and see what we can do better. And it's nothing negative, it's just where can we move forward.
That was one of the
You
first
know?
things we ever talked about. He was like, I don't want to see you go to hell. We're going to work on this. We're doing this together.
Wow.
And so I think, we don't
Well,
FaceTime every night.
I've
but
always
we
said
do.
too, and we've talked about this in the church, and I'm like, if you're going to be my wife, you are my first responsibility. I'm supposed to reach other people, but I'm supposed to reach you 1st. So when I die, he's asking me first what I did for you.
Right.
So I'm like, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, I'm
Suck it
I'm
up.
going to be on you, because that's what God calls me
Right.
to do.
I think that's
And
amazing.
it's not comfortable leading. I think that's a big thing for a lot of guys my age, even when they're taking relationships serious, but God calls men to lead. Whether you don't want to lead or you do want to lead, you're supposed to be a leader. You're the man.
Yeah.
You're
So
a
be the man.
you're
Yeah.
a biblical man.
You tell
so
him.
Be, and so that's why I try and model that.
Yeah.
Because I've always said, I'm like, you look at someone and ask the question, if today was the last day, are they going to heaven or hell? And if they're going to hell,
That's
you
hard.
need to be doing something about it. And so that's what we've said. Model our own lives. Look at how we've been living. Or how do our actions look? Are we being lethargic with our time, or are we doing something with God's time? You know, that it's like you just have to keep trying to look back and see where we can improve on those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So Jenny, end us up with the phone number and remind people what they can do.
Yep. So I put out the podcast every week, and sharing it, liking it really helps for it to get out there and for more people to see it. And then it just shows, then more people can see your story, because I think you guys are amazing and like young couples. There are not a lot besides Mitchell and Ashley. Young couples that are living like you, and the more people that share, the more people that can see it and benefit from it. But we also, the number that we have that we sent a text in, or the text that we're given, we send out something once a week and ask you what you want to know. And so we use that for a communication. We want to have a conversation with you. We want your questions. We just want to,
Are we gaining any people on this thing? Do we have more people than we used to?
On the number thing?
People, okay, good.
Yeah.
So people are listening to you. They're actually getting on that number.
Okay. They are.
But you never know.
I know.
You put this out every week, do this, get on the chain.
Yeah. No, I think we have a lot of numbers, actually. Yeah, they're listening. But just if you know somebody that wants to be on the podcast, if you want to be on the podcast, we want you to have them.
What's the number? Because not everybody's watching.
Oh, that's right. 260-408-8383. Was that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Woo!
Look at you. It's
I
memorized,
was right.
huh?
Yes, I do.
No brain numbing moment at that point.
No, because it's close to my number, so I get confused.
Yeah,
Remember?
I know. That's
I almost
what I
said my
You're
number.
doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we'll end it up with this. So just again, for you guys, and this is something we'll be talking about, because I think I'm marrying you.
Yeah.
Aw, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool.
Yeah. What a cool thing to be able to marry your kids.
I know. Did you do that for all of your kids? Okay.
Yeah, so I've done all of their weddings.
That's cool.
That's what I told Sarah. I was like, if we get married, why can't I just
go back and forth?
Go back and forth.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that should be
I
easy.
think you can.
No, I don't think that works. But anyway, so for a young couple, I do think you guys have the opportunity, just like we said to Ashley Mitchell and to all young couples, is that, right now it doesn't look that good, for your generation and the people around you. But I think at the end of the day, examples is what everybody's looking for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think everybody's looking for an example of saying, we don't really know, but we're curious. And I think curiosity and watching you guys and the way that you live your life. And I've just always said it, stick it out. Be in it for the long game, not just in your relationship, but in reaching people. We're 18 years into doing a church, and you're seeing some of the fruit of that now, but that's 18 years worth of praying for people, 18 years worth of being on your knees, 18 years worth of sacrificing, and you're seeing some of that fruit. But I think the biggest thing for people is they just give up too early, and I think you guys have talked about that, not to give up, and not in your relationship, but on other people, and we say don't give up, keep praying for them, and, stay in their lives as much as possible, and then let God do what, only He can do. And again, if you guys have heard me say this before, Bree and Isaac, I'm really proud of both of you for, one, giving an example that two broken people coming together and putting each other back together is a powerful thing. Right. And that you two coming back together and again, going through a lot, and like I said, not a lot of young people experience, like Sherry dying last year and in the middle of your relationship and going through those things. And we've talked about this before, is like, you're right. You have a choice, and you can respond in a way that's, what it is. It's not good, but at the end of the day, you can respond in a way to say, or we can use this as another stepping stone, something to build our faith and something to show people that we have faith, right? Because that's what the people are watching, how we respond in Sherry's death and the things we do. And I'm just proud of the way you guys have handled it and how you guys have moved forward in those things. And again, looking forward to watching you guys grow and seeing how your relationship grows and how you'll continue to be loving one another well, but also, loving people and seeing them come to know Jesus. So thanks for being on the podcast.
And
Do
dogs.
what?
I said and dogs.
Yes.
I'm
All the
trying to
golden
convince him to get a
retrievers.
wiener dog.
A wiener dog?
Yes.
Yes, she wants
With
a
all the
wiener
golden
dog.
retrievers.
Yes.
my gosh.
Yeah. Well, not like an actual one. It's one of the curly ones, but
What about
Dash hounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my.
Next
Okay.
one.
Well, thanks guys for joining us. Thanks everybody for joining us out there or watching. And so we're so thankful that you were on with us today and we're a part of what's going on. We ask you to pray for us as a church and these young couples as we're trying to figure out how to reach a young generation and how we can continue to move forward in that. And again, like Jenny said, like, share, comment on YouTube, give us your feedback so we can continue to grow this podcast. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.